moment to acknowledge my predecessor, former President CEO of the Seattle Southside Chamber, Andrea Reay, who is here today. It makes me incredibly emotional because she really gave me the opportunity to grow and to find success in my own way. And so I just really wanted to share my gratitude to her. But, and with that, I will bring Carmen out to introduce the next panel.
Well, good afternoon, morning-ish still. My name is Carmen Goers. I'm Vice President at Washington Trust Bank, Small Business Banking Relationship Manager. So I work with businesses from startup, micro businesses, all the way to multi-million dollars until you hit corporate. It's kind of where my wheelhouse is. I love small business. It's where I thrive, and I've been here in South King County for well over, almost push on 30 years now after we left the military. Now, coming after the last panel, we're here to talk about policy, regulation, and the decisions being made at the city, county, and local levels. And this is where you can get a brief understanding of what's involved, how you can be how it impacts you, and how you can be impactful. And so on our panel, we have, as mentioned earlier, we have Ms. Andrea Reay, Director of Policy and Government Affairs with the Washington Hospitality Association. We have Max Martin, Government Affairs Director for the Association of Washington Businesses. You really want to keep track of him. And then we have our elected official, City Council Member Armen. Papyan.
Great, yeah.
Papyan.
Yes.
It sounds great everywhere you say Papyan. And according to Ms. Andrea Reay, there should always be an Armen in every city. Gave her high fives on that one. So we're going to start off with introductions. Give us your name, your role, and kind of the policy issues that you look for and you follow. Starting with you, Max.
Hi everyone, Max Martin, Director of Government Affairs for the Association of Washington Business. I cover artificial intelligence, technology, tax, and fiscal policy, so glutton for punishment.
Hello everyone, my name is Armen Papyan. I'm the Council President for the City of Tukwila. We have over 60,000 jobs in the City of Tukwila. We oversee nearly an $80 million budget, and so that's one of our biggest responsibilities as a council is to manage on what our priorities are going to be. And so that's what we're looking at every single year, every single day, is making sure we're spending those dollars very efficiently and effectively for our stakeholders, our residents, and our business community.
Thank you, and Andrea Reay. I'm the Director of Policy and Government Affairs for the Washington Hospitality Association. It's so great to be back here in the South Side, and thank you so much to Sammy for that warm introduction. That's the best thing I've ever done in my professional career, is hire Samantha to run the Southside Chamber. So again, thank you all so much for being here. The Hospitality Association represents over 6,000 members, over 88% are small businesses, hotels, restaurants, entertainment, and attraction businesses throughout the state of Washington. As Crystal said in the previous panel, our businesses are some of the lowest margin businesses and highest volume. And so when we're looking at policy and we're advocating for our businesses, we're talking about how can we create a more predictable policy framework that our businesses can succeed and thrive in. And also, as mentioned in the previous panel, so many of our members are immigrant and refugee-owned businesses, and it's a huge opportunity for us to create more economic equity throughout the state of Washington, and so that is the lens that we are looking through all of our policy work on.
Thank you so much. Now you may be wondering, as a banker, why am I moderating this panel? Well, I serve as the Vice Chair for the South Sound Chambers of Commerce Legislative Coalition, which are 7 chambers that come together to have a stronger voice in Olympia, and that includes our Seattle Southside Chamber. So that's how I ranked up to hang out with these guys up here. So I want to start with looking back a little bit. And so as we look back at 2026, it was a difficult year, as was stated earlier. Can you talk about the regional policies that came out of Olympia that will have long-term impact to employers here in South King? And where do you see that the biggest unintended consequences? I'll start with you, Andrea.
Awesome. So I actually want to start with something positive. I know that there are a lot of challenges that happened this last legislative session. Max, who is our tax and fiscal policy expert. I think we'll touch on a number of those.
That's why we end with him.
Yeah, no, so good. So one of the things that happened this last legislative session is that we formed a tourism assessment. So some of you may not know that the state of Washington actually does not do a lot of investment in marketing and promoting the state as a destination for tourism marketing. And tourism is big business, and tourism impacts so many businesses, from small retailers to restaurants and hotels, attractions, everything in between. When people are here, when they come here from out of town, they spend more money. We have a number of challenges with just, I would say, geopolitical challenges that are impacting international travel in particular, which means that we need to focus even more concentrated effort on ensuring that those within the United States know that Washington State is an amazing destination for family travel and for tourism. And so we passed a bill that we believe will raise about $25 million for the state to market and promote the state as a destination, which we know will put more money in the pockets of our local businesses and more money in the pockets of our local workers. And so we are very excited about this opportunity that is really an investment of business, for business, by business, and to be able to see that through to really have a really strong economic impact on the state of Washington. So we're really excited about the ability to be able to do that.
Thank you. Armen, do you have any thoughts on policy?
Yeah, so as you might have been hearing, some South King County cities have been having a challenging time with public safety, and it's not only South King County cities, it's all across Washington State and even nationally. And so we as a city have not had a fully staffed police department for over 20 years. And we finally reached that mark actually just last year. We do have a fully staffed police department, but we've done that by investing millions of dollars, and it's very, very expensive. So something we were looking at offsetting some of that cost is by one of the policies that passed in the state legislature, which is Washington State was going to invest over $100 million in public safety. And what they were doing is they were going to have cities submit grant applications, and then it was going to fund some of our local operations all across cities in Washington State. However, unfortunately, the rollout has been very slow on that $100 million. I think they've only distributed like a few $1 million out of the $100 million, and we have not received a single dollar from it, unfortunately. And so it's something good, but also something that we're still waiting on, and all those dollars are still waiting in the state legislature that have not been distributed. And there's a number of reasons why the rollout has been very slow. They've required cities to change their rules and codes on a number of different areas, and we've done that, but even then, we still have not received any of those funds, or even a status report where our grant funding or grants are at.
And so for context, can you let the audience know, what's the average cost to bring on a new officer, a new law enforcement officer?
Oh my goodness, you would not believe it. You would not be able to guess. And I think Navdeep is here with South Center Mall.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows that very well because we were going to be partnering on adding 2 additional police officers, but I think the cost, when they found out how expensive it is to add an additional police officer, they were caught off guard by it. But it's about $500,000. So that's a very high price. Going through the trainings, the vehicles, everything you can imagine. There's a lot, and it's not like immediately you find a great candidate and you could hire them, but there's a lot more that goes into it. It's over a year-long process to get a police officer on the streets and working and reporting.
Max?
The policy I would point to is the newly passed millionaire tax, because I think it's going to impact the long-term business decision-making that we're going to see in the state. It was passed around impacting high-income individuals, but really when you look at it, it's going to hit pass-through entities, so S-corps, LLCs, partnerships, and honestly, there's a lot of those kind of business structures here in South King County. Those include contractors, manufacturers, a lot of the main street employers you see right now. So that pass-through business, that income flows through the personal owner's return. And those dollars matter. They're tied up in the business. They can be used for things like hiring new workers, buying new equipment, expanding a facility, opening a new location. So when you start taxing those dollars, you start to see employers become a little bit more hesitant to grow and invest here. And you have to kind of take a look at this as a whole when you're considering other things we have to do as employers, already having to deal with higher costs of labor, energy, land, transportation, things of that nature. So you have to look at it cumulatively. And honestly, the concern's not about who pays the tax today, it's about predictability. We have a long road to go right now when it comes to the income tax and the result of that through the Supreme Court. So I think there's going to be a lot of unpredictability in the state, which is crucial for employers thinking long term.
Can I just add something?
Are you in on a happy note?
I'll try to spin it. a little bit. And again, as Max said, it's the pass-through carry forward that so many small businesses use to weather economic volatility. And the panel talked a lot in the previous panel about how businesses need predictability and certainty to be able to thrive. No one thinks it's easy to start and grow a business anywhere. But if you can have a little bit more predictability, you can have a little bit more certainty, then you can plan for the future. You can invest in workers. You can invest in equipment so that you can be more profitable in the future. And the income tax has really kind of just thrown a number of issues into business planning that are making it challenging for small businesses that I think the intentionality was to impact high earners. But in reality, there are so many small businesses that are now challenged with how are they going to weather some of this economic volatility that we know just exists in our economy right now. We do not have a stable, predictable economy for so many other reasons. There's probably another panel of why there's so much uncertainty and lack of stability, right? But that's, again, just to say it continues to be a challenge as we march forward.
That's the mental health panel that will be at 6 o'clock at the bar. So we talk about don't mind me. We talk about the business landscape and the competitiveness. So there is a tension, and tension can be very healthy between policymakers on what they're trying to accomplish for the good of all and how businesses can absorb that to the predictability. So can you talk about how we can create conversations with our lawmakers and policymakers so policies are both impactful to our community and workable for our businesses? Max, you want to start?
I think we're struggling right now to find that balance between reaching our public policy goals and staying competitive. Not that the public goals are wrong by any means. We want strong schools, we want healthy communities, we want good infrastructure, but we're struggling to strike that balance right now. And I think where we can step in as a business community is to help lawmakers understand just kind of the cumulative impact right now we're seeing with everything coming down the pike at us, whether it's the income tax, all the different regulations that have been introduced. AWB actually just released a study, the cost of regulation study, that shows that Washington is the 8th most regulated state in the country with over 200,000 regulations on the books. Just for example, the labor and workplace portion of that represents about 45,000 regulations, when the national average is somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000. So we're significantly high there. So when you start kind of layering all these challenges on top of each other, it becomes a lot. It's no single policy. So really kind of connecting with your lawmakers now, helping them understand what it takes to run a business here in Washington and everything you're struggling with is crucial. So when they do get a new tax, a new regulation reform on their desk, they know who to reach out to kind of get that on the ground in-person experience. So really tell your story now and not wait until session when there's already a law in draft form.
Councilmember Armen, can you speak to how that impacts our cities?
There are so many impacts. I mean, let's start with like home building, let's say. Before there's even a shovel in the ground, you have to spend about $100,000 to $200,000 in just paperwork, documents, fees. I mean, we're talking about affordability here in Washington State, but just to build a home it's a necessity for everyone to have shelter. There are so many paperwork to go through, and it makes housing a lot more expensive. That's just one example. But I would also say that at the city level, we're probably not hearing enough from our business community. We are hearing from maybe some of the larger stakeholders in the business community in our city, but not the small ones. And I would love for some of them to show up at our city council meeting to share what they're experiencing, some of the challenges that they're going through. And it's so unfortunate. I think Westfield Southside Mall, which you all know about, is doing quite well, but I was driving around the city of Tukwila and I'm seeing empty real estate just sitting there completely empty. I think that's a challenge for us also as city leaders to figure out, all right, then what do we do? So I think I've been having conversations of possibly rezoning and making sure that it's not sitting empty, that we are developing that land and making sure maybe people are living above those real estate, above the retail spaces, and then we still do have the retail spaces right below it. But we are seeing more people, that there's more activity going on, and it's not just sitting all empty. So that is a really big challenge. And I went into one of the stores that was leaving Tukwila, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Can you guys share a little bit more about it? And they're like, yeah, staffing costs is way too expensive. I mean, in the city of Tukwila, we do have the highest minimum wage in the nation. It's great for employees, and I do think we should make sure that city of Tukwila is a place where people can work and live at the same time. But I do think we do need to consider the needs also of the business community and work with them. I do think that here at the city level, we haven't done enough outreach to the business community, and I think that is something that I have been trying to address at the city level. But the business community also needs to be able to show up at our city council meetings and share with us what their issues are. And then the reasoning behind that is in numerous different ways. Let's say there's a state level impact that might impact a number of different businesses in our city, then we can add that issue on our legislative agenda at the city level and take that to Olympia. We do have a city lobbyist who lobbies on behalf of us. We as city elected officials, we do go down to Olympia and lobby on behalf of the work that we do at the city. And so I would say show up to these. And then there's also a number of different organizations, lobbying groups. For every different sector, there is a advocacy group. For beer, there's the Beer Guild. I found out there's so many interesting coalitions that come together around different subjects and issues. And I would encourage you to find that specific sector that you're in and come together with a few different businesses versus doing it all on your own, because you won't be able to accomplish much all by yourself.
Thank you. Andrea?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, we really are stronger together, and at the Hospitality Association, we are very focused on solution-oriented advocacy, and so when we are having conversations with our lawmakers, we are very focused on having the conversation centered in what's the problem we're trying to solve, and how can we get creative to find those solutions to solve the problem in a fair and equitable way that leads to the intended outcome of solving that problem long term. And I think that ultimately that's the challenge, is how do we come together in that spirit of partnership, that spirit of collaboration, that spirit of compromise to find the solution that might not be that first solution that is thought of, but needs to be really stakeholdered and invested in the research to discover whether or not it really is the right solution for that problem. And so I would say it's really connecting directly with the lawmakers. I appreciate Councilmember talking about how important it is for small businesses to show up. I will say it is really difficult right now for small businesses to show up because it's so difficult for them to just keep the lights on. And so when you are running a small business and you are, working 18 hours a day, and maybe you would like to hire more help, but you can't afford to hire more help, we truly do have an affordability crisis in Washington State. And how we solve that affordability crisis is our greatest challenge. But we're not going to solve it in silos or focused just in our own personal ideology. We're going to find those solutions by connecting and collaborating together. And so that would be my hope, and that would be my wish, and that's what we're trying to do at the association, is really look for those partnerships, look for those creative solutions, and find ways to collaborate so that we can finally start to move forward with the solutions that matter in Washington State.
And I want to take the liberty here to say, as a small business owner here at the Seattle Southside Chamber, you have a Government Affairs Committee. I believe the chair is in the room, waving hello. Let him know the issues. Send him an email. He will then circulate it through through the chamber, through the Government Affairs. It can get to a regional level. So even if you're typing at 2 a.m., which I know business owners, and sometimes you do that, those are the beginning ways. And when it comes to your mind, send it out. And start with that grassroots. And so I'd be remiss as a government affairs chair myself to not include that as a very viable way to reach out and get and leverage your membership with the chamber here on that side. So we're going to move to looking forward, because looking back, we have a small rear view mirror, we have a big front mirror. So looking forward to the next legislative session, which our previous electeds were speaking to, what policy issues should business leaders pay attention to? They may not have gotten media coverage. We've all heard about the income tax, but what should we be looking towards and preparing for as we go forward? And I know Max has something to start because we were chatting about this earlier, so I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, last session there was a bill, Senate Bill 6173, called the Apple Health Employer Assessment. It did not pass, make it out of committee, but it definitely needs more attention, more eyeballs on the situation, because it could have some pretty significant ripple effects. And again, I would not be surprised to see some version of this bill back again this session, especially knowing that we're facing another budget shortfall. We continue to see pressures around rising healthcare costs. But this bill would impose a $607 per employee per month assessment on employers. And that assessment would apply to your employee who is enrolled in Apple Health. And from an employer perspective, that starts to kind of feel like a fee or a tax on those lower income jobs that are so important for many different industries like retail, grocery, healthcare, all these other employers that rely on part-time or those flexible hour employees. So again, those are the kind of jobs that help people get into the workforce and stay there. So my concern is that employers can force an employee to go on their healthcare plan. They may be offering something affordable, but they can't make their employee take that. And there can be all these different factors why an employee may not be doing that, but your employer, you shouldn't be knowing that kind of private healthcare information. So the unintended consequence is pretty serious. At the same time, when we need to be creating more of these employment opportunities, we're making it harder for employers to do that, or giving them a little bit more caution or hesitation before making that kind of decision.
This is a little bit backwards looking, but I promise I'll say why I'm mentioning this.
We talked about this.
So yeah, about 20 years ago, the state legislature, we used to have the destination sales tax. Now we have point of sales tax, which has a very large impact on South King County cities, especially cities like Kent or Tukwila. And what that did basically is, let's say you order a furniture, you buy a piece of furniture and you want that, and you live in Seattle, even though that good isn't in Tukwila and they use the roads in Tukwila to take it to Seattle, that sales tax goes completely to the city of Seattle, and we don't see a single dime of it in the city of Tukwila. So what that does is, all those good jobs in warehouses possibly are now does not provide a good tax base for cities like Tukwila or Kent. And now we have to look elsewhere to find that tax. And we come up with all these creative solutions like, oh, okay, maybe we could do a B&O tax. Maybe we could do this other type of B&O tax by square footage, by employee or head count. And we're constantly being creative because we can't even keep up with our basic costs at the city. And so what we're doing at the city when we go down to Olympia is, please do not continue on passing policies like this one. And we're just asking for no changes because we know that this point of sales tax is probably not going to change because it does benefit certain cities, but it has a really bad impact on South King County cities. And just to explain what's happening here at in real life, we looked at our sales tax year to year. We're completely flat. That's really bad news for our cities in South King County. That means we're not even keeping up with inflation. So technically, our sales tax is down. Our wages are increasing by maybe 4% at the city of our 300 employees. And so we need to be creative and find, okay, are there cuts? Could we run our city more efficiently and more effectively? We've done some certain cuts, but I mean, the solution is probably in both ways. So looking at more certain cuts in some places and then raising more revenue. But it's almost an impossible task to keep up with this. And we do this every single year. And I know we're not the only city. Every city in South King County is having to go through a very similar exercise. And it's very unfortunate. And we're just asking Olympia, like, hey, please do not pass policies like this that impact these are hundreds of thousands of jobs in South King County. We're asking, these are businesses providing great jobs, and we're basically saying by passing the point of sales tax, we're basically saying, well, we don't care about these jobs, and put them elsewhere. And we're having to rezone our city property to basically create, let's say, housing, and that's completely fine. I love housing. We need more housing in the area, but we could have housing in certain areas, and we could have the warehouses in a certain part of our area, and make sure those warehouses are kept in our city, so we have those jobs and sales tax that continues on maintaining our city.
So Andrea, we are in our last 3 minutes, and so I'm going to ask you the question of how can business leaders be informed, stay informed, engaged, but not feel overwhelmed? Do you have a 30-second, 45-second snippet to pass along?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what you said earlier.
Oh, that's wisdom right there.
Right, so it is, I think people can be intimidated from engaging with their lawmakers, but you have so many amazing resources here with your chamber, with your government affairs committee. I appreciated what Senator Orwell said about finding those partnerships and working in collaboration. You really are stronger together. So I would say, please do not be complacent. Please don't lean into apathy. Really know that your voice matters, and we need your voice in Olympia. We need your voice in Tukwila to pass smart, good policy, because we really are stronger together. So that would be my 30-second pitch. Please don't be apathetic, and please connect with your local chamber and your local association so that we can help serve you. We truly are here for you.
And so with that, we're going to close our panel out, and we ran out of time. I'm staying on time before I get the politeness. So thank you to our panelists. And the important part that we want to kind of walk away with is that your voice, your vote, your advocacy, your presence and engagement really matter. And there's avenues for you to engage at any level in every community that you're in. So again, thank you to our panelists, and thank you for your attention.
Yeah.